What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, dude. I'm great. Uh, Just chilling, dude.
Good.
So I was thinking about our first trip to Erie and how
Mhm.
that last day, we forgot which day we were moving out of our hotel room for various
Oh
reasons.
yeah,
So they packed all our stuff up for us and they
minus
had
the
it
weed.
behind the counter. But they stole, I shouldn't say stole, they relieved us of about a half ounce of weed for the
It was
courtesy of
good too.
cleaning out our room. Was that a favor or was that
I
they were supposed
I mean, like, to me, when you're moving somebody out of their room and you steal their weed, like that's like just like kicking them in the balls where they're fucking down, bro. Like you could put all their stuff in trash bags, like our stuff was in trash bags, but at least put their weed on top for them because you know they're gonna need to dip into that when they just realize that someone else packed up their shit for them. Um,
Man,
But to each his own. So we'll move on from that.
dude, one time got a hotel room and I found like legitimately 2 ounces of weed hidden in the air conditioned ducts. I was like, let me just see what's happening up here, and I moved it over and like looked up, and there's like a couple ounces, dude. And I smoked it all in the room, so whoever hid it there knew I found it, dude. There's no doubt. The whole floor smelled like weed. It was great.
Mm.
Good
I used
times.
to I used to do the same thing, man. I swear to God, I would go into the hotels and especially in Georgia and just blunt after blunt after blunt, and just in the hotel room thinking that I would never get in trouble. But after you told me that story, the first time you told me that story, every place I went to, I would look in the vents, especially if they looked off.
Yeah.
And I found a dime bag of weed in one. When I was super fucking desperate, I got really high one night and I was like, "What's that? It looks like it's someone's opened it." And I opened it up and found a dime bag of weed, and I was pretty happy. It looked really fucking old, like
I
really old. But I mean, guys,
I
check
used that
check your
trick
hotels.
myself whenever I was on my way to Hawaii, and like I got some in Cali, right, and then
Yeah.
I had too much, and so knew I was coming back to the hotel, so I just went like and put it up on above like where you get ice and stuff like that, and nobody came and found it. So a couple days later, still
Hell
there.
yeah, dude.
Anyway, that's why you
Stash
guys
houses.
come to listen to us talk about the great places to stash and not stash your buds. Just smoke them
Dude.
so you don't have to. That's what I always say. The problem is I'm very bad at knowing how much I need for any given time. So there are times where I end up with too much to smoke, and that's a tragedy.
One thing I have to say I've learned on this podcast is this is a huge shout out to all of our Australian listeners out there, but man, Aussies love to smoke weed, bro. And like the
Mm.
more we talk about it, the more people write us back saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I got great stories," and most of them are from Australia. We got other people that smoke it, but
Okies
I'm
like their
just,
weed
man,
too.
I gotta say something before we get too much into weed. I gotta say, I was looking at some stats today and just kind of like grazing over who's done some incredible things this year for this team. And, two things pop out to me. First of all, our rookies, unbelievable. They both play 82 games this season, right? That's crazy. I don't think that's something that is heard of very often to have two rookies to play 82 games. And then on top of that, we had one more player to have 80 plus games. Do you know who that was?
Josh.
Josh Giddey. You got
Damn.
it.
Damn, dude.
He got 80 games, bro. He got 80 games this year. I think he missed the last game, the last two games of the season or something like that. But my point is that Josh Giddey has 80 games played this year.
Well, let's talk
Truly
about Josh.
spectacular. Yeah, man.
Let me ask you.
Sure.
Okay, so we got the playing game coming in tomorrow night. We're gonna find out who we play and who is eliminated from the Western Conference. It's gonna be the Kings or the Pelicans. How does Josh match up in both of those series?
Well, I mean, the Kings are always Josh Giddey's always problematic for the Kings. Let's just be honest, because you end up putting up somebody like Harrison Barnes up against Josh Giddey, and Josh Giddey
Yeah.
just picks Harrison Barnes apart every single time. He's a little faster, a little quicker, plays great defense on Harrison. So that to me, I like that matchup as a plus for us. And then you look at the Pelicans, man, and really the thing I like about the Pelicans is that the way that we play Zion Williamson, who could be injured, but the way we play him or Valanciunas or whatever his name is, like it's about a combination of putting guys around him. And so you know that Josh is going to get those big time minutes against Zion and also against Jonas. Those are huge for me because you need another body to be able to take the load off of Josh, off of Jay Will and Chet and Jay Will. So Josh being able to be there and to play that hybrid power forward, small forward / guard position is big. Josh has proven he can do it in the past. He can take a lot of that brunt from a big guy like Zion and still keep ticking. So to me, like this is whether he's there or there, it doesn't really matter to me. Like both matchups he works well with. He get on Trey Murphy a little bit. He'll get on this player a little bit. Like he gets passed around like. Yeah, no, I shouldn't say that, but he gets passed around really, really, really well, bro. And to me, like, I just appreciate having a guy like that on the team, the guy that that's going to always look for that pass first, and he's going to be an incredibly intelligent player. And Josh steps up for big games, so I see something special happening here.
Last year during the playoffs or play-in game, I'm sorry, the first play-in game since we won it against the Pelicans. Josh had put up 30. So I don't really need to go too deep into what I think he can do against the Pelicans. I think like he's proven that he's a gamer, and that's a good matchup for him. I don't know if it's a great matchup for the whole team. If Zion's healthy, we probably match up better against the Kings. But, if you look at the Kings series, and I do think Josh, like you're saying, is a critical piece because we know what we're going to get for Shea. Chet offensively, I assume we're going to get a little less from Chet offensively than we're used to, and we'll get him neutralizing Sabonis as much as he's capable of, which turns out it's pretty good. It's good enough. So what are we going to get from J-Dub? I think he'll be, frankly, the second best player in the series, right behind Shea. So that's kind of like, maybe it will be Fox who outplays J-Dub, and then it goes Shea. But then, whatever. But my thing is, where's Josh fit in? Because if Josh gets outplayed by a few players on their team, like 3 of them, 2 or 3, then, it may not be an easy series because, we could find ourselves in a spot where a couple of games won by the Kings will stretch us longer than we want it to be. And I'm not saying it won't be. Like, it could be a 6-game series no matter what because the Kings are good. But, if we can get this done in 4, 5, that'd feel really good. And for us to be able to do that, Josh is going to have to be one of the 5 best players in the series. And for him to do that, he's going to have to play like he did all of March. Like March, and he didn't really play that much in April, but, there's some minutes in there that you can take from this too and just say, like, how did he finish the season? If he plays like that, then we're going to see this team really run away with this series pretty much by game 3. It should be pretty much over.
Sure.
But if they're capable of sagging off of Josh and Josh can't really make them pay, then we might win the first 2 and they could come back and steal the next 2. You don't know. So, but I'd like to see us take this and get it done.
But that's where I look at next man up mentality as being so crucial here, is because we know that there's going to be bad games from Shea. We know there's J-Dub's going to have bad games. We know that Chet's going to have bad games during the playoffs. It's inevitable. Everybody does. It's something you can't avoid. But when Josh has his bad game or bad games, we know for a fact that there's guys like Isaiah Joe and Cason Wallace and Jay Will that are going to step up and be able to insert in that position, right? To create a mismatch of sorts. So for me, it's not necessarily about Josh needing to play really well. It's about Josh proving that he deserves the minutes. And that's it. Like, everything else will work through, because Josh being out there, you got to look at, like, the way that Josh looks at the game, right? And the way he opens up the floor as being the most crucial thing as a playoff team that you can have. You need somebody to spread the floor out and keep it open. And the thing is that so bad is that teams get so, like, focused on packing it in and making things so difficult on defense, right? But if you have somebody like Josh out there that's just flinging the ball around, making it so that they can get settled and stable and understand what their defense mentality is trying to be, and it's just picking them apart, that's what Josh is going to do. And he's going to do it in a disgusting way. And that's why we have to have Josh out there. Like, there's no better lineup in the playoffs for us unless Josh is out there. Now, if Kaysen comes out and just like shooting the ball like a madman out there, then I could see him earning those minutes, but he'd be taking them away from Josh. Josh has to prove what he's capable of at this moment because he's about to get paid the big bucks. He's got to prove that he's worth the big bucks. And if Oklahoma City thinks that Kaysen is going to be better off in that position, they're not going to be ready to hand Josh the biggest bucks possible. So if I'm Josh Giddey, I'm saying 12.5 points this season isn't good enough for the playoffs. I need to get that up to 16. I need to get that up to 17 points a game in the playoffs because in order for this team to win, they need to count on me as a offensive threat, scoring, right, and passing, because then they don't know how to guard me, which opens up the floor yet again, making him impossible sitting him on the bench. Averaging 23 minutes a game for Josh has been an eye-opening experience for him. Completely eye-opening. And a lot of it has to do with the way Kaysen's been playing. But Josh needs to understand that this is the playoffs, and the coach has kept him in the starting lineups because he believes in him. Now it's his time to shine.
Yeah, so much of these playoff series, it comes down to pace. It comes down to tempo. And like first game, we heard LeBron and JJ Redick talking about, it's just kind of like a feeler game, which makes it sound a little soft, but it's not. You know what I mean? And then after that, you pretty much come back and you're spending the entire time picking on the other team's weaknesses, exploiting them, the whole series. So it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be a challenge. There's going to be physical and psychological challenges like these players have never experienced before. And that's just going to be in the first round. And the second round, it'll only amplify things to another level. And if we're fortunate enough to get through that and find ourselves in the conference finals, we're going to find ourselves in a heavyweight, fight going 12 rounds. And those things you leave with bruises. You leave with some serious fucked up shit. So there's going to be moments where people, like you said, have bad games. Sometimes the games will stretch multiple games. And then the word will get out that they solved that person and they don't, and then all of a sudden this process for improvement that we've undergone all year will kick in and we'll see the scouting report work against that team. And all of a sudden the players are starting to step up. I mean, it's easy to look at how this has happened before and how it's going to happen again, because we saw what Dort did, 7 games against the Rockets. And by the time that was over, he was a different player, So,
hell yeah. Think about
that's what we're looking for.
Coach D, where was Coach D the last time that happened?
He was on the bench, right?
He was assistant coach. He was with Coach Donovan watching everybody pick on Lou Dort, and then Lou Dort coming out and being like, bam. So he knows how to handle it. If Lou Dort goes out there and goes 0 for 15 in the game or whatever, which is ridiculous, or Josh Giddey does the same, coach is going to bring him back and be like, listen, I saw this before. Let me tell you about this great guy, man. He's from Canada, right? He's a little short for being a forward, but man, he is all out hustle, and he was getting his ass handed to him all series long his rookie year. And what happens? He comes out game 7 and does something magical. And that right there is the story of Oklahoma City, man. Backs up against the wall. Nothing's making sense, right? And everybody comes out. And I can't not say something, being that we are one day away from, the year that Mark and we moved to Oklahoma, April 19th, right? No, May 19th. I'm sorry. Yeah, right? When the mirror bombing happened, right, man?
Yeah, April 19th. That was April 19th.
Which is tomorrow. My point is that there's 2 19th. There's a May 3rd tornado, a May 19th tornado, I think, and then there's the Murrah building, what happened in April. So, but the whole thing about our first introduction to Oklahomans, was our next door neighbor who his son was a firefighter. He was not son, his nephew was a firefighter, and he died in the Murrah building. And he was always talking about that. His name is Mr. Hall. He was one of those people that in my life that was the first introduction to Oklahoma. He had all these things going wrong in his life. He had one person to carry on the family name, right? And that kid died. And I look at this idea of what's happened in Oklahoma City, and yet his whole idea was like, we have to keep this thing alive. We have to keep Oklahoma alive. This is, bigger than anything else. And that's how I look at Oklahoma now, man, is that this vision of what Oklahoma City could be and what Mr. Hall used to see is this like idea of like a crumbling, horrible city, man, that needs to be turned around into something beautiful. And we're seeing that happen right in front of us. I mean, we're seeing the city can be completely transformed. And you've seen it recently, but when you see some guys like Josh Giddey that have been down and out, especially all season long, like what do Oklahomans do? Do they kick them while they're down? Do they treat them like they're, in New York City, man? No, they surround him with love. And I think that's what's happened with Josh this year is he's got a true understanding of being in that Oklahoma embrace and having all these people from Oklahoma treat you like family. And it's so powerful to be able to see that, and I hope that Josh values that because it's something that, when you're down and out, Oklahoma's going to help you out. It's just the way they are.
Yeah, it's true. I remember like after that tornado, May 3rd, we all went and volunteered and helped clean up and pack boxes and do whatever we could to help the community. And that's really when I think back about Oklahoma, I think back about how the community handled the bombing. And then after that, when Boston went through a bombing at the marathon, like Oklahoma City reached out as a city and really embraced. And there's an element of understanding and you get used to it. And I know that there are a lot of people who maybe aren't used to it and they think it's weird or whatever. Like, and not everybody is a part of that. Like I know when Sam Presti started the rebuild, some people were really upset and they wrote him death threats and stuff like that, right? But like,
you're right.
So I wouldn't say that like every Oklahoman is a good Oklahoman, but I'd say when disaster strikes, you see the best in the people of Oklahoma and really most people. But it's become something that is normal in Oklahoma where a disaster strikes and people like rally together. I remember when there's a tornado that hit a school, KD donated $1 million to the families and to the school and everything. Like it was a really powerful moment. So it's something that really does matter to the community. And that's one of the reasons why we look at the Twitter trolls who, crucify people just because they played a bad basketball game is people that we need to stand up to because we don't want them to be what the general rest of the public of the United States or the world thinks Oklahoma is like or Oklahomans are like. They're not like that. Like they care about each other deeply. They care about picking people up when they're hurting. And they know that if they focus on that, when if they ever find themselves in a real shit situation, then they can kind of count on the same community picking them up too. It's something that means a lot to us. And it's something when you think about it, going back to a few years ago and we were trying to decide what we should do, it was like we just didn't feel like there was a single podcast that was really representative of what Oklahoma is really like. They were just like, immature and goofy, and they didn't represent us on a national scale. And they really loved to dive into tearing players down, and they weren't original thinkers. So it really made it easy for us to decide, like, maybe we're not exactly what people want to represent Oklahoma, and that's fine too. But at least there's two sides to the coin now instead of just like, one.
No, you're right though. But like, I get to that point and thinking about where this team's at, right? And where we envision this team. And I look at these guys and I get excited because the moment that you and I both know, the moment that Josh Giddey stepped on the court, we knew that something was happening and it was going to be special. We knew the second that Chet stepped on the court, it was special. The J-Dub moment, like there's moments in everybody's life where you look back at and you say, I'm so glad I did this. And, for all those years, about 2 seasons that we talked, no one was out there, and we just kept on going, and we did every single fucking day. And it was important to us because what we saw in Oklahoma City wasn't right. We wanted better. We wanted these guys to be better. We see these guys get drafted and Josh Giddey and everybody gets upset with it. And we're like, why the fuck are you upset with Josh Giddey? He's going to be amazing. And people get upset with J-Dub's pick because we should have got a big man, or Casey Wallace because we should have got a big man. And we want this place to be people to be excited about coming, not to be like, these fans are fucking dildos, you know? Like, I guarantee you somebody going to Minnesota is like, fuck, got to go to Minnesota, the worst fans. Or, you know, I got to go to San Antonio, where Chuck says it the best about San Antonio. You know what? And I want to say this about Chuck. Victor just echoed what Chuck said. He said he wasn't into American women because he thinks of one of the rappers, Chance the Rapper, or something like that, whenever he thinks American women.
NBA Youngboy.
Yeah, there we go, NBA Youngboy. But my point is that, like, we get these guys, we get them on our team, and we have to surround them. We have to make them better. We have to put good coaches around them, and we have to develop their talents. Now, does that mean every player is going to make it through? No. But the ones that make it through are going to make this team better. And Josh makes his team better. Chet makes his team better. J-Dub makes his team better. Dort makes his team better. Shea is the MVP of the league. And when push comes to shove, in order for this team to have success, we need Josh Giddey to be successful out there. Just, it doesn't matter if he has a double-double and points included, or just double and double with no points. We need Josh.
Yeah, and when push comes to shove, don't be a dildo. And don't be the dildo that steals somebody's weed. Okay, we got a bunch of those dildos in Twitter land representing Oklahoma City, and we need to call them out for being what they are. Amen? See you guys next time.